Spirito Santo, presenza inquietanti, ti distrugge, proteggi, ascolta, ascoltaci, ascoltaci.
przejmuję tu dowodzenie.
Twoja mama ukradła obraz, rozumiesz?
Moja mama niczego nie ukradła.
To winna osoba może trafić do więzienia.
Rise and shine, ilangali balele. Rise and shine, lijaji lisabi ila.
Hello, friends. Do you know that the vaccine rollout has begun? Please tell your elders that they should register for the vaccine. Vaccines are now available for everyone over 60 years, and soon it will be available for everyone below 60 years. The more people get vaccinated, the better it will be for everyone. But even if you are vaccinated, you must still follow all the COVID-19 rules.
Hello, everyone. My name is Makawe, and I am a project support officer at the Center for Creative Arts, the CCA. And we are very happy to present to you today's session on animation and gaming. It is a very exciting time for us. We all know animation is such an integral part of storytelling. And as you can see also in our selection of films this year, we have a lot of animation. You just have to look at I Am Here, one of our documentaries, and it uses a lot of animation to tell a story. So just a few housekeeping rules. Could you please make sure to have your mics on mute if you're not speaking? And also, if you have any questions, please write them on the chat box. We also just want to thank all our audience members and all the people who have tuned into this session right now, and all our sponsors, because without you, well, there is no festival. And we would also want to please advise you to please follow us on social media. So our Twitter handle is @DivFest. So DIFFEST on Twitter. And on Instagram, you can find us on Devon Film Fest. So Devon Film Fest, one word, on Instagram. Well, before I waste a lot of time, let me hand over to our lovely moderator, Firdaus. Thank you.
Thank you so very, very much. Today is really very exciting for us. I'm so happy to see this huge group of people in the animation sector, particularly as we are concerned in Africa that we seem not to have enough animators. But when we sit around this table, and this is our third session together, we were lucky to be together for the Francophone part of the festival in France. So that was really very exciting, and to really listen to what people are doing and hear the explosion of things that are happening. I kind of feel like we're on the cusp of the kind of Nollywood space that started a few years ago and it just exploded. So today we have animators from around, I would say, Pan-African animators. And then we're very lucky to have Thomas Kuchera, who's with us, who is sitting in Germany, and he will talk to us about what his company is doing right now and the new developments there. But before we go into all of that, we need to talk to Lynette, who is from the Film and Publications Board. And we'd like to thank the FPB for their support for our sessions at the Nelson Mandela Children's Film Festival in association with the Durban International Film Festival. You can catch us on our Facebook page, the Nelson Mandela Children's Film Festival, or on the Durban Facebook page. And most of what you will see will be on those two pages for some months to come. So you can always catch the discussions again. So Lynette, may I introduce you to start with your guidelines, classifications, particularly around children's films, children's games, etc. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Firdaus, and it is a big pleasure to be part of your initiative. It's a very good initiative, and thank you so much for thinking of us and inviting us along. I do have a presentation to share, so I'm just going to try and put it up for us here. And then I will kick off. I am a communications manager at the Film and Publication Board. And since we have a Pan-African audience, I think maybe I should just give a little bit of context. So the Film and Publication Board is the content regulator for films and games in South Africa. And we have very set standards that we work against, and one of those things is to also work across Africa with other content regulators. So we do a lot of work in the African space. So just a little bit about our mandate. So we are a government entity. And we are basically formed, as I was indicating, to regulate content specifically to protect children. So you will see there that we have three pillars that we stand on. One is the protection of children from exposure to adult experiences, so premature adult experiences and any other harmful materials. We also then provide consumer advice, and a large part of that is not only informing the public about our age ratings and our classification elements, but it's also doing a lot of outreach work at schools and in communities, specifically to teach children and their caregivers the importance of age ratings. Then also part of our law also makes criminalizes child pornography. So we do a lot of work along with our local law enforcement with taking down of materials that expose children to pornography or exploit children in the creation of pornography. So those are the three legs. But for today's session, what I really would like to do, given the fact that we have so many of our animators and film sector with us, I just like to focus in on the classification side of things. So the classification in South Africa and the assignment of age ratings basically takes place at the end of the value chain. So you have, your creative process unfolding, and at the end of it, just before a film or a game can be distributed in South Africa, it has to come to the Film and Publication Board for an age rating to be assigned. This we call classification. So we do use a very stringent formula called classification guidelines. And this is what our team of classifiers would then use to assign the ratings. And we try and make sure that these ratings are or these guidelines are always in touch with what's happening in society. So we do a lot of public consultation. We do every second year, we do what we call a convergence survey, where we go out to the public as well as industry, and we assess whether the ratings we've given in the last 2 years is up to scratch. It meets the standards and the norms that we have in society. We also do a lot of work when we put those guidelines together in terms of child psychology theories and sort of the developmental stages of children, so that we are basing our guidelines in well-researched facts, right? And also then obviously as a government entity, we always make sure that our classification framework is aligned to the laws of South Africa. And the most important thing there is our Constitution and our Bill of Rights, which the basis for us at the Film and Publication Board is the balancing of your right to free expression with other rights that people have in South Africa. So things like, the right not to be exposed to anything that could harm you. We also take a lot of our cues from our Bill of Rights and from the Children's Act. So specific to the Film and Publication Board, we then have the Films and Publications Act, which we are in the process of amending right now. And this basically makes explicit the types of contents that are illegal. So while we don't censor in South Africa like we used to in our apartheid days, we classify, but there are still certain elements that are illegal in South Africa by law. Which is things like hate speech, incitement of violence, propaganda for war, and then, as I mentioned earlier, child pornography. So just a quick one on our classification process. We have a team of classifiers that is drawn from the general South African public, and they usually spend about 5 years with us, and then we recruit new classifiers. This is also just to make sure that we're in touch with what's happening in society. And we try to pull these content classifiers from people from film industry, but also people with like a legal background or a background in child psychology, so that we have a diverse group. So each film that a distributor would then send to us to classify, we compose a classification committee of 3 classifiers. They view the film and then they rate it based on those very strict classification guidelines. So that is their Bible. They cannot move outside of that because it's basically gazetted. It's a legal framework as well. We also then have a team of quality assurers that once the classification report by the committee is completed, the quality assurer also then goes through it to make sure that we're not being too restrictive. Because, one of the main things for the Film and Publication Board is the growth of our industry. And we try not to assign ratings that are the least restrictive, obviously based on our guidelines and what's contained in them. So once the decision has been given to the distributor, it's then incumbent on them to make sure that the age rating is assigned, that's assigned is very clearly displayed. And if the distributor is unhappy with the age rating that's been assigned, we also have a secondary process with an appeals tribunal, which is also independently appointed. Okay, so I'm not going to go into details on this. I think, even though the actual rating might be unique in South Africa, there would be something similar across Africa. We basically have an all ages rating, which is talks to content that is considered to be not harmful to any age, so even for young viewers. We then have a PG or parental guidance category that can be attached to any of the other age ratings. And this basically means that the type of content in the film or the game is suitable for the age that it's rated at, but it is advised that there's parental guidance during the watching of the film, so context can be created and the learning experience can be escalated. We also then have a 10 to 12 rating, as well as a 13 rating and a 16 rating. And after that, it then becomes the adult 18 or 18XX, which is then your explicit content. I also, for those, wanted to just touch a little bit on our trends that we've been seeing in the last few years. And you will see there that the numbers of applications we're getting for classifications has sort of decreased over the years. In last year, we saw quite a big dip, but I think that was due more to the COVID and the restrictions that were imposed on the industry at the time. But just to draw your attention, so our international submissions have declined by about 22%. Then the decline in the sort of African content was a lot less, so 6% for South Africa and 4% for Nollywood. And then we also see an 8% decline on the Bollywood side. So our sort of reading into this is that the decline could possibly be the fact that people are moving from a physical consumption, so your cinemas or buying a DVD, and that more online and streaming types of consumption is happening. And due to the way our system is structured, we're still quite limited in the number of online distributors that we do have on board. It's something we are working on quite hard at the moment. But that's just an indication that, content is on the decline. Then I wanted also for those to take people's attention just to the gaps that we seem to have in the content that is being created specifically for children. So you will see the bulk of the content is sitting in your sort of 13, 16 age range. So the blue bar over there is 2017, 18, and then 18, 19, and 19, 20 is the gray. We don't have the exact statistics for last year yet because we're still being audited on that. So you will see there that over the years, there's a decline across the board almost. And you'll also notice there that in terms of films, there's the 10-year-old age rating is quite low. Films in that category, as well as your 7 to 9 is also, busy decreasing quite. Your PG is decreasing quite a lot. So that's just in terms of the film side, and that sort of indicates where your market gaps might be. So for the filmmakers out there and the animators, that's a market gap that you could maybe look into. Then looking at our games that we've classified over the last few years, again, the top line there is the most recent. And then the bottom line is 2017-18. And you'll also see there things are decreasing. You'll also see that similar gap there in the sort of 10-year-old and 10 to 12 age. And then also a very big decrease on the PG side. Okay, so that's also, just use it, don't use it. It's there to guide our game makers. Then what I wanted to do is reflect just a bit on a study that we had done with the University of South Africa a few years ago. And I specifically chose this slide just to draw your attention to the fact that children, whether with their parents' permission or not, seem to be playing games outside of their age range. So what we did was the study was done with some children in Gauteng, in South Africa, as well as the Limpopo province. So we tried to take rural and urban children. And we looked at sort of the age rate. We assigned sort of the same ages to the study that we do in our age ratings. So you had 7 to 9, 10 to 11, 12 to 13, that sort of thing. And we asked them, what is your favorite game to play? What games do you play and what is your favorite? And this is what we came out with. So you'll see, for example, the 7 to 9-year-olds were playing games for 16-year-olds. Your 10 to 11-year-olds were even playing games for 18-year-olds. And this just is an indication again of, possibly that there's not enough content for children of a younger age out there, but also that children tend to enjoy the games that have a bit more violence and a bit more graphicness to it. So it's also an indication for our animators and our gaming guys that we should maybe be creating content for children that's good for them to consume, but has the same sort of impact that these games for older people would have. And then just some research we've done on our side. We sort of wanted to highlight what we call a continuum of graphicness. So these are the types of things that we look at when we are assigning classification ratings, and it would be things like the degree of detail that's in the animation or the game. Sort of the spatial proximity, the emotional interest, and this is a very interesting one, is that when something sort of engages you on an emotional level, it almost feels like, even though it's a game or a film, that it's happening to you. And that is the sort of impact that could potentially become harmful if it's a child that's watching something that's very graphic, because they become so immersed and engaged in it, right? Then we also look at things like the depth of detail, which is either sort of your high pixels per inch, which we consider as vivid. Also things like the amount of blood and gore in a violent scene, or something like whether the degree of close-up violence that is in the content. Just also some quotes from other studies that have been done. So gamers are more attentive, playing high quality, vivid versions of a game. And this also sort of enhances the feeling of presence of this game. Violence in media is also more appealing to younger people compared to older people. I think it's just in the nature of children that you want to be older than what you are. So if a game has an 18 rating, you're more curious about it and you're wanting to see what is the fuss all about. Okay. And then also in cases where participants viewed graphic versions of violent media, they experienced stronger negative emotional reactions. And this is things like anxiety or worry. And I think you did play our video at the beginning of the session, and that just sort of also, speaks to that same characteristic. Children watching these things have extra worries, extra anxieties, nightmares, those sorts of things. Just some more quotes here. Vivid, violent media, therefore predicted to be highly arousing, emotional, and cognitively accessible. And it can therefore be predicted that this might lead to heightened aggressive behaviors, and especially in a society like South Africa, where there is in some of our communities already a high rate of violence that children are exposed to. The last thing you need is for children also to be exposing themselves to it in a film or a game. And that is the end of my slides, Firdaus. I hope it's been a little bit insightful. We do also have a session for your audience with Firdaus on Friday, which we will go into a little bit more detail on how we classify. And I think, Firdaus, that's on your F show on Facebook Live, and I think it's at 1 on tomorrow, if I'm correct. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lynette. Yes. So I'm worried about time, and I will go directly to you, Thabo. Lynette, can you clear your screen? Can you close your screen? Thank you. Thabo, let's go with you.
All right. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Thabo, and I am from Space Alice Studios. We are an indie game studio based here in Johannesburg, South Africa. and I'm here to talk about one of our first products that we made in the studio called Dopa Dash. Dopa, for those of you guys don't know, Dopa is pick up in Zulu. So the reason why we created Dopa Dash was to answer a problem about climate change and global warming. We realized that there's not a lot of educational games that's speaking about that and that's teaching children or the youth about waste management and sorting their trash and basically making money out of waste management. So we felt that it would be cool to gamify an existing concept, which is informal waste pickers do. And that's basically go through communities, sort out the trash, weigh it at a recycling plant, and then they get paid for that. So we basically gamified that, and we're really excited about the results. I'm about to show you what Dopa Dash looks like. Let me share my screen with you guys. Let me put some sound. Make sure that this sound. All right. Just give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear the music. Sweet. So this is Dopa.
We can't hear the
music.
Yet.
Okay, let me see.
More.
Now?
Yeah.
Can you hear my voice as well? Alright, so this is Dopa Dash. The cover has been designed by one of our interns, so I think Manati. Plastic gang, and she focuses on plastic materials. He does paper recycling. So we have we've been fortunate enough to develop a game. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Sorry, because your music did get loud and beautiful, but we've heard the music, so maybe you can talk us through the game.
All right, let me just put the volume down.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry about that.
No problem. So yeah, we have the player has an option to play between single and multiplayer. So the multiplayer will be played on LAN, so you guys can play use a split screen. Sorry, so you guys can play on the same TV or the same computer, wherever you guys are playing. So I'm gonna play with single player because unfortunately I have no one to play with currently. We have 3 different game modes. Like I mentioned earlier, we've gamified what these guys do for work. So we have time trial. Time trial kind of explains what these guys go through on a daily basis. They wake up early in the morning, race against the sun, and also the waste disposal or garbage disposal company, which is called Pick It Up in the country, before they empty out all the bins. We have Dopa Race. Dopa Race is a normal race where players race it out against other players or local teammates in multiplayer race. And we have elimination. Elimination is the last one in every lap gets eliminated. So this is where you put your skills to the test. You know, your money where your mouth is. See who's the fastest. So I'm gonna play Dopa Race. We have 3 different tracks to choose from: Junkyard, Simologo, and Anderson. But I'm gonna play Junkyard because it's my favorite. Sweet. So I mentioned we have 4 different characters currently in this build, each one representing a specific waste material or renewable waste material. So we have one leader, he's part of the paper gang. We have Azania, she's part of the plastic gang. We have Nomkita, she's part of the metal gang. Silo, he's part of the glass gang. And we have Moha, who's part of the can gang. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with these materials that I've mentioned, but all of these are renewable materials that you can recycle over again, and they're worth something in the street surface community. So they work as like cash, which they weigh at the end of the game. So we've kind of I don't know if you're also familiar with Need for Speed, but this is basically, we've taken the concept of Need for Speed and we've turned it into a recycling game, where instead of racing for pink slips, you race for huge amounts of trash at the end of the game, which you can convert into money. So I'm gonna pick Azania. And yeah, it's loading. So we're about to start. I'm gonna use my controller to play. What's off? There we go. Slow start. Ooh. Let me start again because my controller is off. Ooh. Come on. Let's go, Azania.
Come on, Azania.
Why is she so shy? Okay, let me use my keyboard because my controller is giving me problems. But yeah, so you drive around. The gold bags that you see on the track is actually the plastic refusal bags that you'll see outside of your community. And they pick up the trash. And after they pick up the gold trash bags, they pick up items. So as you can see, I just hit a bottle in the road. It's I should mention that it's a combat racing game, so there's a bit of violence. But we're using the violence to educate the children because we've tried to also extend the 3 R's of recycling, so the reuse, reduce, recycle. And as you can see, I haven't fired any of my weapons yet because I'm trying to keep all my weapons so that they can be tallied at the end of the race. So that's me saving, so me reducing my waste. But if I wanna go and use my weapon, then I'm going on the next R, which is called the reuse method of recycling. So I can just drop this bottle. Whoever drives into it will spin out of control. Let me speed up there. See if I can get more weapons. Ooh, let me try and catch up. Ooh. And while I'm trying to catch up, I should mention that the music that you hear from the Dom soundtrack to the Amapiano soundtrack, that was all done in-house by our talented sound designer. And it's one of the first games to have an Amapiano soundtrack, which we're really excited about because that's like one of the biggest genres right now. Watch how I hit them with a bottle, with a can. There we go. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So we race, there's 3 laps. I'm on my 2nd lap. I don't know if we have enough time to finish for those. Can we finish the lap? All right. Let me see if I can win. So we've got this blue icon on the left of Azania symbolizes bubble wrap. So since she's part of the plastic gang, it's used as a shield. So anyone who fires against me cannot harm me. I just dove into the bottle and I wasn't hurt at all. So we tried to be creative and experimental with the weapons, the story, and with the characters as well. I have a paper plane which I can throw, and it works as a projectile that follows the player. So I don't know, maybe Lynette can comment on this, but it's not so violent, like it'll probably make parents worry. But yeah, we try to keep it as playful as possible. And considering that we want to teach children, especially at school, we want to have like challenges. We host challenges on recycling where kids could go up against each other, form teams, and see who can collect the most recycled material, who can basically become the next recycling champion. And yeah, we're done. That's me. Came out 2nd place. But yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Thabo. That's wonderful. We'll have Lynette and Thomas tell us what they think about it towards the end of the session. But thank you so very much. Lynette, this was what I was talking to you guys about. And I mean, there's so much learning that's happening there. So we need to talk to the FPB about that. Lynette, there were 2 questions. Just check in the Q&A. You might answer it online. So that people have the answers. I'm going to go now to Munia. Munia, thank you so much all the way in France, Morocco. We love to hear the work that you are doing. Please introduce yourself and tell us more.
Thank you, Fedors, and thank you, Thabo, for your demonstration. it reminded me of Mario Kart. I'm a big fan, so thank you. I look forward to play with it. And so I'm Munia. I have a company called Munia Ram Company, specialized in African animation. Actually, what I'm doing is finding the African animation that I would like to take to another level, meaning doing international co-production and handling the distribution, which I'm specialized in. And realizing that it was really hard to find a big team of talents in Africa to work on projects and make them more international, I decided to launch a foundation called ACT for African Creative Talents that will open schools in Africa in partnership with a school in Paris. It's called Isart Digital. And they are specialized in animation and gaming. Actually, they have a school in Montreal and in Tokyo. And now with us, they're going to open schools in Africa. So we're going to be training students in animation and gaming as well. So it's going to be a 3-year classes. And I can share with you a presentation if I have time, Fidors, if you allow me. There's a lot of text, but I will go fast. Don't worry about it. Okay. So here it is. So this is African Creative Talents, and my source of inspiration, like all of us, is Mr. Nelson Mandela. So we need to train our talents in Africa in order to be competitive in the international industry. I've been in this industry for 18 years. I've been traveling a lot all over the world, and I realized that we need to be more present. We need to really talk about a strong African animation industry. And in order to do that, we need to train people. And the fact that we are lacking diversity on animation and on gaming was something that struck me. And it is something really important for me to have more representation. Being based in France and being from the diaspora, I realized that we don't see a lot of characters that look like us on the screen, and we need to see that. And what better place to find it than in Africa? So this is why I decided to focus the foundation and the business in Africa, and also being myself a woman, as you can see. And I'm very eager to promote talented women in this industry, because we know that they are very creative and passionate about animation and video games. And I'm also passionate about video games. As you know, Tabo, I told you about Mario Kart, but it's not the only game I'm playing. So we need to see more women and more talents from Africa in the international scene. So to go fast, and this is the vision of that we want to, the goal that we want to reach is to structure the ecosystem in Africa. We want to train and professionalize more than 1,000 of professionals to join studios that already exist, or to create their own studio. And we have the fact that we want to make sure that inclusion is important, so diversity is important. So we're going to get access to the disadvantaged, and gender parity is really the key in our schools. So we're going to have ethical charts. So people who will join our school, they need to respect the charts that and it is really important also to our partner Isart, that is promoting diversity and inclusion and working in a safe environment. And the key is to contribute to the development of the animation and the gaming industries in Africa. So to summarize, why African creative talents, I already mentioned that, realizing that we need more and more talents to bloom, because we know that they are there, they are passionate, they do that on their leisure time, and they need to be more professional. The fact that we have the people who are passionate about animation, but this is not their job right now. So to make them a real industry, a real job, we need to train them, give them access to the proper software, give them access to the certification. And this is what we are doing with a partner in Paris. So we are the founders of ACT. So I have founded the foundation with a Patience Priso, she came from the live action industry, but she's also director of studies at Sub de Prod in Paris, and this is why. And she's really involved into diversity and inclusion, and this is why we get along, and we decided to go together and launch this project because her experience and her involvement in Africa is really important. And we are both women, as you can see, so we are powerful and we want to be the sorts of inspiration to the ladies that will join us in our academies. So the first school is going to be launched in Morocco, in Casablanca. For me, it makes sense to start in Morocco, not only because it's my home country, but also because it's one of the first door to Africa, and it's very easy to make a partnership between Europe and North Africa, and then all the way we're going to go to each year open a new school in another country in Africa. So we're going to have 40 places in our schools, because it's important to stay small, because we are realistic, and we want to have the students to have the internship in Africa and not go outside Africa. We want to keep them in Africa to build the industry. And we know that we don't have a lot of studios right now. So in order to make sure that they have the internship, we stay in 40 places with half of them women and half of them, as much as possible, we want to pay for the scholarships of 20 students. So yeah, so these are the objectives that are already mentioned: create professional training centers, facilitate access for women, access to the disadvantaged public. So this is really important for us, and creates employment and career development in Africa, because we know that the future is in Africa in terms of animation and gaming. We have a lot of stories that we can bring into animation and gaming. So this is where everybody should be and should look at it. And this is why we need to train the students right now, and we should not wait anymore. I mean, we already have some schools and some academies that already exist, but we need more. And that's why we are coming here and bring more schools together. So make more professional. I mean, this is the key. The goal is not only to train them so they can have an education. No, the goal is to train them, and then they get a job at the end, because we need them to make it a more professional and a bigger industry, because we don't want the parents to see that as a leisure, and we need them to understand that it's a real job that makes money, because animation and gaming, we realize that outside Africa that it makes a lot of money, and we need to build the African animation and gaming industry with them. So this is the summary of exactly what I was mentioning: 40 students per training center, 3-year scholarship, and a minimum of 450 hours of training. We're going to hire a local administrative and pedagogical team, because it's important to work in Africa with the talents that are in Africa, even for our schools. And we're going to have master classes, workshops, and we're going to bring international speakers that will come. And I'm already speaking to my network, and they are super excited to come all the way to our training centers and give some master classes. And the idea is to have 1 to 2 month Pan-African internship per year at the end of the scholarship. So, and these are the partners, and this is it.
Thank you so much. Very interesting, very important. Thank you, Monia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm pushing along because we don't have time, so I'm going to go directly to Foster. Welcome. Tell us about yourself and your amazing work.
Greetings. I actually don't want to talk about myself. I want to ask Monia everything. It's amazing. Well done, Monia. Can't wait to get some of those students. So, greetings, guys. My name is Lesoka Foster. I'm a co-founder of an animation studio called the Hidden Hand Studios. And yeah, we've been doing these a couple of times, and I'm part of the people that need that FPB training. I'm about to show you what we do. We have a couple of projects that we are working service work for French studio, and it's really like R-rated or PG. I don't know, but let me show you, and then we can take it from there. So I say share screen, share sound. Yes, sir. Optimize for video clip. Share. Can you see my screen? I can't see anyone.
Yes, we can.
Cool. Thank you. There's no sound a lot, but yeah, because I like to talk while I show stuff. Yeah, so a little bit of myself is I'm a Wits graduate. I studied fine arts, but I did do my master's in Paris at Gobelin. So came back in 2018, I think. Yeah, came back in 2018, and I started, formed part of the internship at Simolochong, where we work with 20 young interns every year from Feb to December, and we just teach them how to make that higher end level of animation. So this is aside from the Head and Hand Studios, my own studio. This is what I do. As I don't see it as giving back. I see it as exactly what you're saying, Munya. The problem of us not being able to do it ourselves is gonna, and it already has happened, that our stories are being told for us, and we can throw all the fits we want, but if you can't do it, if you can't animate this dinosaur chopping that monkey in half, it's going to get told for us, you know? So it's really important. The training is really important. By its very nature, animation is about collaboration. So it only makes sense that you want to show the others more. And there's been a very ugly aspect in South Africa, specifically. I cannot speak for South Africa. And that is the me thing of not wanting to share how you did this thing or how it actually works and all that other stuff. So yeah, that is us at the Head and Hand Studio. I will stop sharing.
Thank you, Thabo. Succinct and sharp. And Lynette will tell us everything she thinks about it. We'll have a special session if we need to. I go straight to Sitembiso. Welcome, Sitembiso. Two things. Please show us Wazi as well as the app that you are developing, and then talk about the Popeye as well. Welcome. Tell us about
Yes. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Now I just feel like I have to do everything and fast forward. But my name is Timbi Sompeshe, and I'm the founder of the Popeye Studios, which is a 2D, an award-winning 2D and 3D animation studio based in Johannesburg, South Africa. I'm just going to share my screen with you guys quickly so you can see the presentation that I have for you. You guys see my screen? Okay, cool. All right. So that's my beautiful logo, the Popeye Studios. And as I just said, we are a 2D, award-winning 2D and 3D animation studio whose focus is just creating authentic African animation, gaming, and music. We use our deep understanding of African nuances to create meaningful and entertaining content. And I know some people are like, why animation? Well, the desire for Africans to tell their own stories is really what started it. And animation being the one medium, visual medium, that allows you to imagine anything and bring it to life is the reason why we chose, or why personally I chose animation. I'm just going to share some stuff with you guys, cool stuff. Yes. So that was our show reel. And like Foster just said, man, collaboration is the name of the game. And up until this point, we had just focused more on creating mature content for like an older audience, and we were looking into going into more of an ECD space, which is early childhood development, and that's when we partnered up with Moments Entertainment to create Wazi, which is a beautiful show. You can see our character designs and just some nice, beautiful art there. And pretty much the idea behind Wazi was to create content that encourages African children to practice self-acceptance, so identity, loving themselves, loving their language, where they're from, and just understanding who they are. And so Wazi's Wonderful World is an animated series following Wazi, Musa, and Josie, a young and intelligent trio, as they entertain and educate children about the continent of Africa and issues about health and hygiene, as well as COVID-19. I got more cool videos for you. So this is the first pilot we did for Wazi, just to sort of get the idea out there into the audience, share it with you. Right. Yes. So after developing Wazi, we realized that there was a lack of content around COVID-19, especially in the early childhood development space or in the ECD space, and we saw Wazi as an opportunity for us to then bring out content that can communicate and help make the whole process less daunting. And this was in 2020. And we've seen some success with the Department of Health reaching out to us and saying, hey guys, can we collaborate? Because the content you guys are creating is really meaningful and speaks to what we're trying to do, which is educate people about the pandemic. Shortly after that, we were then awarded a Special Achievement Award at the 2020 Prisonniers Awards. I actually put an arrow there so you can see. Hot like fire. And we've had an opportunity to, we also partnered up with eTunes, which is a local broadcaster, to have our animations which speak to COVID and just help children understand COVID better, aired there, which was pretty cool. But we didn't stop there because we wanted to create content that's more engaging. And it's good that Thabo spoke, you met Thabo, who is the founder of Space Salad. And we wanted to create content that's more engaging and realize that, okay, let's make a game. And we partnered up with Space Salad to create like a simple mobile game that anyone can download, looking at also the amounts of people that have handheld phones now. This was actually a good way for us to then feed this content. So I'll just take you through the game, pretty much simple. All you need to do is just dress Wazi up for the event or occasion, her day-to-day routine. So for instance, if Wazi needs to go to school, you're given 20 seconds, which is there, that's your lifeline. That's what times you, 20 to 30 seconds, depending on the level and how intense it is. And this is your lovely wardrobe where you select clothes, drag them and drop them onto Wazi from your right side. And then on the left, if you see here, we've got a mirror. This ideally shows you what kind of image you need to replicate. And so you need to do that before your time runs out. And I've got a quick example of myself playing the game on my phone. It's still in early stages of development. We're about 60% done. But I mean, it's exciting stuff to see. I'm even excited. I'm like shaking as I'm about to show this to you guys. Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay, don't mind the stretch screen. I recorded it from my phone. Yes. So yeah, so that's basically how the game works, as you've seen the example. So you just drag and drop. Right now, what we're working on is more of the narrative. We've just locked in the controls, so the game actually works. But towards the end of the year, we should have it ready and launched and on any platform for you guys to download and enjoy Wazi's wonderful world. These are the beautiful faces behind Dipopai Studios. I know Munya was saying she wants to see more women in this space. Well, we've got just right that over there, beautiful faces. Can you see? And that's pretty much Dipopai Studios. You can catch us everywhere, dipopai.com on all social platforms. And yeah, thank you.
Yay, thank you. I don't know if you realized, but you didn't have sound. So I don't know if that was your choice not to have sound.
There was no sound.
There was no sound on any of it, but it's okay.
Okay.
As you said, they can find you on all the platforms. And
yes.
Maybe if you want to, in the link, just put in on the chat side, if you just put in a link for Wazi and maybe the Popeye, so people can go there. I didn't want to disturb you because I wasn't sure whether you had intended not to have sound so that people could hear you.
Oh, no, I had sound.
As usual, very busy, lovely, nice to see. I'm trying to get Magan on the session. I see, okay, Rudy, are you sending us a link for her? She's in the audience and not in the Zoom panel with the panelists. So I'm trying to see, she keeps telling me she's there, but I don't see her. So let me go directly to Professor Ghazala. Welcome, Prof. Tell us about your amazing work. I hope you have a book. You have the book so we can see the cover at least.
Unfortunately.
Welcome.
So good afternoon, everybody. This is Muhammad Ghazala. I'm an animation professor, director, also chair of Cinematic Art School of Afat University in Jeddah. Besides being vice president of the International Association of Animation, ASIFA, this year we celebrated the 60th anniversary of our association in affiliation with ANSI. We are established at the same year with ANSI, in the same city. We are registered there. So I'm very happy to see all those fantastic artworks, animation made by African today, as we are celebrating the 85th anniversary of animation in Africa since 1936. And this something is amazing to see this quality and this kind of wonderful level of animation. I just wonder, I have a big question, why we are not there globally, as we have such quality and such talents. So I just have this big question mark every time I see fantastic artwork, wondering why we are not distributing a lot of animation, why we don't have so many contracts in row waiting for being done in Africa. And I still refer all this, not because we are lacking funds, we are not lacking talents or craft or creativity or equipment or whatever. It's we are lacking a system just to organize everything and to put it in a pipeline together as to make it going to the international level. So I appreciate all the artwork have been seen by our colleagues in this panel. Also appreciate Moni Aram initiative to establish such a pipeline with Europe and outside Africa. I think we would look around us, as we have different models around the world. We have this in Hollywood, in Europe, in Japan. I think the closest model would be India as developing country, as us as a developing continent. I think for many years we didn't see Indian animation, but it's crazy to know how much investments are made in animation in India. Like they are now welcoming a lot of animation projects from America, from Disney, from Europe, TV series made in India. And during the last 20 years, animation in India was like since maybe 80 years ago or maybe more. but it wasn't that established. It wasn't that like famous. But until recently, until now even we don't see much products are like with title Indian animation. But there is a lot of investment there, and I think we could adopt the same models that they created the infrastructure. They created the model, the business model, which can organize the contracts, the orders, the timelines, everything put in time and put in system. So we can see quality control. We can see production is coming in the same level, which planned by the producer in America or in Italy or wherever. And we can see a lot of production is happening. We don't see that India is far from our model, as we have a huge number of people here. Yes, they are 1 billion inhabitants in India, and I think there's the same number in Africa. And they are struggling with resources as well. But the systems there is a little bit established more than in Africa. And I think we need to learn from their experience and to try to help our people. We don't need to teach them more how to draw or to animate more than to think logically and think business-wise and money-wise, how to organize things in an organized way and how to deliver it on time and to be in the international standard. The quality I have seen today is not far from any of those competitive things I'm seeing in festivals around the world. And I think all of them would be like qualified for high prizes around the world. So this is my big question. And I would encourage whatever initiatives happen by governments, by professional, by businessmen to help to create this link between African animators and the world. Yeah. And this is what I tried to clarify in my book, Animation in Africa. So I started to study what happened from Africa, from initiatives and the pioneers since 85 years until now. So I think that we have those potentials. We just need to continue this, and we need to get some kind of support and encouragement to those young talents and to put them on track to be seen worldwide. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prof. And I think what you're saying is so important because you have the context, you've done the research, you've seen what is out there. And I think, as I said, this is our third conversation together. I think with the people on this panel, we really need to push. We need to see how we get, the partnerships going. And I want to welcome Adamuna. Adamu, thank you so much. I think your Bino and Fino is probably one of those projects that came out of Africa that we were all so excited about when it started. I remember seeing it right in the beginning at DISCOP. And to see how far it has gone and how much, what you've done. And hence, when I talk to Dipopai and to Space Salad, I keep referring to your work because you guys have been innovators at the time when people were not really looking at children's animation. So welcome. Tell us about yourself and tell us about your amazing work. Thank you.
Thanks. Can you guys hear me? I don't know if you can hear me. Great, thanks. Thank you very much. I'll try and keep it short and sweet. Let me just share the screen. 1 second. Boom. Let's see if this works. Share. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
Great. Okay, so we have a show called Bino and Fino. Started about maybe 11, 12 years ago. I'm going to give you guys a very short version of the story. It's a children's series, simple, educational, aimed at kids around the ages of 3 to 6. Has an African focus. So within each episode, there's at least something from the continent, whether it's cultural, historical, or just within the context itself. But at its heart, it's just a very simple kids, normal cartoon show. So anybody in the world can watch it. Let me see. Basically, this is a bit of a rundown of what they are. Bino Fino, brother and sister living in Lagos in Nigeria, learn about the world and the adventures unfold through each episode. topics we chose are like social, emotional, cognitive, intellectual, health and nutrition. So trying to keep it all around. I mean, one of our influences is obviously something like Sesame Street. And the show has been shown, like I said, we've been going for like about 11 years now. So like there's been very many ups and downs, which might be another discussion another time, but many ups and downs in the production process. It's taken us a while to get these clients. So we've been shown in these different platforms. This is actually quite old. It's actually more now. The characters, Fino, the cute little girl, Bino, her brother. It's important to have a family aspect. So we have mom and dad, Zina, Zainab, that's her teacher, and their grandparents. Here it says we have 12 times 11-minute episodes. It's now 21. It says 28 further. This is basically a Bible which is created for our clients, for distributors to now know what the series is all about. So we now have 21 episodes, but we've written 40, but we have enough funding to now create 21. Here's some stills from the show. So when they're flying above Egypt, pyramids in Egypt, they go to space in some of them, just to give you an idea of the feel of the show. 2D, cutout animation. We chose that because it was quite quick to produce. We didn't go down the 3D route. So we knew with 2D animation cutout, we could match quality to a specific level, whereas 3D was going to be more. I've done 3D, I've done VFX, and I know how much you have to suffer to get out even 1 minute of content. And the show itself, as it says, has a growing global fan base, African diaspora mainly now in the US, UK, and Europe, Germany, which I'm at right now. Here's some of the social proof of the show itself. So you can see how people are now taking the show and making it their own. You can see where it was shown in the airline. You can see how someone over here has now taken the show and made like a party, 1-year-old party thing for their kid, blah, blah, blah. So that's the idea. I mean, basically it's just, and this is what people say about the show, fans. So at the moment, and one other thing that's very important, it was created in Nigeria, and we helped, this is our studio, or was our studio. Now our studio is more distributed because the model wasn't working for us. We had to now switch up tactics and make it more remote, just before COVID hit, actually, which is interesting. And I'm just trying to keep it quick. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's the show. That's what we do. And it's been an interesting journey so far. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll stop there. I don't know how to give you the screen back. Stop share. That's it.
Wow. Thank you so much. So Professor Ghazala, if you are still there, people wanted to see your book cover. You know, it's a second edition of the animation. And then Mahgan is unable to get online. So I've asked Sitembiso to please download her little animation, which we want to show. And then we are now ready for you, Thomas. Okay, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. And for those who don't know where I'm coming from, I'm working for Pixelmondo. It's a studio with a headquarters in LA. We have several studios in Canada, America, and in China. And Germany, of course, that's where I'm coming from. So I prepared 3 parts, and I will try to keep it really short. First, I'd like to show the effects for a children's movie we did in 2018. Then I would show some VFX works so that you get an idea what does VFX mean. So it's not only, of course, animation, it's much more. And for some things you have a more artistic background, you need more a technical background. And last thing I want to show is our new studio we built in Toronto last year during the pandemic. Okay, so let me share my screen. No, that's, yeah. Okay, can everybody see the screen? But now?
Yes, getting there.
Okay, cool.
Yep. There we are.
Perfect. So the movie was Help I Shrunk My Parents. It's a children's movie. And I will go through the making of without sound and explain a bit. So you can see the movie.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we are mainly doing effects that most of the time shouldn't be recognizable, so invisible effects. So it's not 2D animation in some parts yet, but we are not a classical 2D animation studio, but a 3D, doing a lot of stuff in 3D, of course. So this was the first task for this movie. We have this teacher here. So that's in the film, in the movie, it's an old school director, and he's dead, but his ghost is still living in this bust. So what we had to do, we built this bust in 3D, then put some nice shading on it to get this metallic look. And then we did a session with the actor itself. So the guy on the left side is a very famous German comedian, Otto, he's called, and he got shot. And during the shot, we recorded the geometry. So we got a very rough geometry, 24 models for each second. And you may know this from your iPhone if you have a new one. So they just included it. It's called LiDAR. And that allows you that you also record the distance of objects from the camera. And therefore you can key the background or add depth of field in the afterwards. So then the motion here got tracked and onto a clean geometry, because you can see that the scan itself is rather rough, and you don't get the details for the eyes or for the mouth. So this was done transferred. And in addition to this, we added some controls so that the animators had the ability to add some further eye movement, to open the mouth, or to add this brow movement. Then we had a lot of green screen in the film. So that's a very well-known and old technique, where you replace the green with your own elements. So in this case, it was a bit trickier in some cases, because the parents are much smaller. So it's a bit Gulliver-like, and therefore for some cases we had a special set, like you see here, to reflect the different scene scales. Then we had some situations where you had to use motion control, because when you have a shot like that, the camera is moving around the table here and shifting to the side. You have a lot of parallax. We gave this motion data, this tracking motion, to a motion control, and then we could have the same motion over and over again, and that allowed then a seamless combination of the actor, the green screen, and the shot we did before in another scale. Again, the camera tilts down, and there you have a lot of parallax here. And this was also done with the motion control. In some situations, we had heavy interaction with the actors and the assets, and therefore it's good to have some things really in the right scale on the set. Like here, you can see that we replaced parts here of the pizza and the box, but of course it's much easier to have parts already on the set for the integration later, instead of having everything against screen and then replace the whole stuff. Yeah, also this cage was built in 3D, but also on the set. In addition to the facial capture we have seen in the start, we also had motion capturing. That means you have the actor in the studio, in the motion capture studio, and then you transfer the movement to your own rig. So this is in the motion capture studio. You have the cameras here on the top. The actor has these white balls on the back, and these are recorded by the cameras from multiple angles. And later on, you can then transfer the same animation on your animation rig. And again, here we had additional controls for the animators, so they could move the arms or the limbs of the whole character in addition to the already existing motion capture. Yeah, that's also a good example to reflect what's all needed for VFX. So you need someone who does modeling, someone who takes care of the texturing, of the shading, of the lights, of the grooming here, of the hair, and of course, last not least, of the compositing, because many shots have live action, have the plates, and then a combination with the 3D rendered elements. So that's the last issue we had here. So Max Rees also did some oil paintings. You may know them from the Harry Potter. The parts of the image are moving. So he took the plates from the shoot and then put all kinds of different effects on them in Nuke and combined them then with the original image. Yeah, that was that. That leads me to part 2. I also try to keep the space you delivered earlier. So the second one is a commercial we did start of this year for the National Association of Realtors. And first of all, I will show you the spot.
It takes a real estate expert to find a space big enough to hold your vision. Starting a food bank where people can give of their time, work with purpose, and change neighbors' lives one box at a time. And it all begins here with you and a realtor guided by a code of ethics.
So I think this is going to be perfect.
And the doors you open together.
Okay, so the idea of the spot was they enter an empty room like that, but you will see somewhere in the future what will happen there. So there will be a store, there are some workers who deliver food and others are working inside. And in addition to this, we wanted to have the actors standing still, like frozen, but they have a motion blur on them. So you have some kind of animation and some feel, of course, in your shot. So this was done like that. So first of all, we shot the actors and they had some rigs for the box, for example, or for the foot here. And they had to stand still. The camera was going through and then we did a match move of this. So match move means that you recreate the camera movement and that you can also recreate parts of the set. So we did this for Game of Thrones, for example, the guy standing here on the cliff, and match move is then recalculating the camera information and also the geometry so that you have something where a shadow can fall on, for example, or that you have reflections and everything. So the same thing was done here. And then we put some characters in, rather rough, but we took the texture from the images, from the shot, from the plate. We replaced parts here from the window because before in the shot there has been no window at all. Placed the scenery behind and to get this motion blur on, we animated the characters backwards, and then they were moving 24 times in a second, the same movement. So in fact, they were moving really, really fast, so that you have every frame in your animation the same motion blur. Sounds a bit complicated. I can show you a making of. Maybe this makes it a bit clearer. Yeah, these are the different elements that have been added. The girl with the cans, for example, was animated like this. So it's rather rough animation. It doesn't look so nice also now, but now you start to comb it in and it looks much better then. Yeah, also the snowflakes have been added later. Motion blur on the balloon, on her. We had a seamless camera move through the hole, the keyhole, to come to the other room. So according to we're moving through the window from the food bank. Okay, the interesting part here has been figuring out how to come to this effect of the static motion blur in a scene. So another effect that we have to deal with all over the years again is set extensions and city building. So I can show you a rather old production for that. That's from 2012 Physician, where we had this city and parts of the city have been built on set, as you can see here, and other parts then had been built in 3D. So you could go there with a 2D image as well in some situations, but if you have it 3D, it's of course much easier because you have the distance from the camera, so you can add haze in the background much easier. You can place your lights and smog in between the houses, and that makes it much more convincible, of course. And since you don't not only have one shot, but multiple shots, this, of course, make it more efficient. In this production, we placed the houses per hand or by hand. I will show you in a few seconds another example where we did it a bit different. Before I come to that, I would like to show you another example where we used it. Yeah, it's that. That's from Carnival Row, another show we did. It's 2019. So these men have wings and can fly, and they have a fight above a city. So you have a moving camera, and you see from top on the city, and therefore it was, of course, much easier to have the city in 3D. And again, everything then was then built, placed, and you have several or different layers that then build your final image. So this is a pure geometry in an occlusion path where you can see where you have objects close together, they get darker. You have the pure color, some lighting path, and this then gives you the final image. So these two examples are from an early R&D stage. So this is a different technique that I mentioned earlier. Here we had an area and I could simply paint across the surface. And while painting, buildings have been scattered across the surface. And if I paint with a lighter color, I get these skyscrapers. And if I paint with a darker color, I get smaller buildings. So this is then a bit easier to adjust later on than placing everything by hand. Okay, last example for VFX is from a children's movie again. So it's Sprite Sisters from 2019, I think. Should be, yeah. So it's about witches. So witches play a role there, and this witch here has a magic feather duster, and this feather duster can speak. And to what we wanted to have was a combination between hand animation and dynamic simulation properties. So the feathers should behave like you would expect feathers to behave in a wind, for example, and with gravity, but they should be animatable. And the technique how we did this was building a cage which could carry these facial expressions. And then the cage got some controls, so the animators could grab them and could bend them, they could dial in a laugh, or they could lip sync it to the speech because he could speak. And then this would drive the shafts. Each shaft would then have a leaf. Each leaf would then produce multiple lines, hundreds of lines, and these would then define the final look of the feathers. And I will quickly show you the result of that. Yeah, the challenge has been to really match the look of the feather dusters, because in some shots they used a real asset, so the animated one had to look exactly like the original one. You shouldn't be able to point out, okay, this was hand animation, and the other ones are shot for real. Okay, so last topic, our virtual production stage. Before I show the stage, I would quickly recap the technique that was used for shots like that. So that's an old James Bond movie or screen from the movie. And you can see this was realized with a rear projection. You shoot first the scene on the street, and then you have the studio, the asset, the car, the actor, and behind the actor is a big screen, and you project the shot of the street from behind the actor. And you can already tell there are some problems because the image and background is rather flat. You don't have a pure black and white. You have some problems to match the correct lighting here, the lighting situation from the outside in the studio. And also this is rather crisp and clear in comparison to the background. So this was done for a lot of years, and then they introduced green screen, and these shots then have been realized with green screen. This is working much better. That's production from, we did 2019. I've never been to New York. So you have your shoot in the studio or outside, and you have a green screen behind, and then everything that is done here, you do in post. So the background is done in post. You can do the color correction, everything digitally. But this also has some problems. For example, the blonde hairs are moving in the wind. You have a lot of motion blur, and that leads to time-consuming comps, or mainly to time-consuming comps, depending on how much hairs and how filigrane this is. So in, I think, start of last year, we first came in contact with a virtual production stage that was used during, we have been working on The Mandalorian. And this is now a different approach. You have a studio, but instead of having a screen or a green screen behind, you have a lot of LED screens in the background that also can light your scene. you have the asset standing in the studio, and you have a ground matching to your background. And the content of the LED screens is now driven by a game engine. In this case, it is the Unreal Engine. And the camera is synced with the game engine. So if you move the camera, also the background would change. And the result would look then like this. So the benefits are that you have an integration directly of the asset and the actor in the set, because the background and LEDs are already lightening up your scene. Yeah. And next thing is that if you change your background from the game engine, what you can do in real time, let's say you go from a day scene to a night scene or evening scene, immediately also the light situation on your actor will change directly. And you don't have any issues with comping later on, because you already have it in set and you can see it directly. So during the pandemic, Pixelmondo decided to build such a studio in Toronto. And in the meantime, it's already finished and in production. And I would like to share as last part of my presentation a movie they did, and that explains a bit what's going on there.
So, you're with visual effects.
Exactly. What would you like to see?
Well, right now I'm thinking, what about a monk in a monastery? Yeah, that's good. But it's a bit gloomy. Can we brighten it up? Or add something shiny? No. That's not what I meant. I was thinking something slightly more modern. How about a love story? All right, but we've seen that 1,000 times. I'm thinking more classic genres, like... Cheers. Now, this is all very nice, but let's address the elephant in the room. We're never showing the ground.
That's correct. We would need to build the floor practically to show it.
Understood. But I can change the light setting, right? I want night, please.
Sure. Here you go.
Nice. What else can you do?
Have a look.
So this is now even more interesting what's coming now, because now you see a bit behind the stage. And now it becomes more obvious what was shot and what was happening, because you can't tell in the final image what's going on there. Yeah, the software we are using is mainly Maya, Houdini for effects, and Nuke for compositing. But for the commercial, you already also have seen Max, but in general, it's Maya. Okay.
Yay. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you very, very, very much.
Let me stop my screen.
Okay. Thank you. Wow. That was quite impressive and very important. Just, I wanted to share that, especially with the audience, but also with the panelists, just to see the kind of wealth of support we have globally, so that we know there are doors we can knock on and there are people that we can work with, which is really, really important. Thank you, Thomas. So much appreciate that. Sitembi, so are you able to screen that link that I sent to you? This is a short animation, probably a minute or two, if I'm right, from Iran. And there we are. Yes, just a minute.
Are you able to hear the sound?
A little louder, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So as you know, Sifej is one of our partners, and Maganu, there's something wrong with her camera, so she couldn't be on with us. These are her students. She is now doing her PhD, I think, in Spain, but she's from Iran, and has been a wonderful partner with the Nelson Mandela Children's Film Festival since 2018, when she trained South African young children to produce animations. If you look at the Nelson Mandela Children's Film Festival Facebook page, you'll see the little puppets. Those were all produced with Magan and her team. And so I want to really thank her. We're about to close. So Professor Ghazala, do you have your book? Because people are asking us in the chat, they want to see at least the cover of your book.
Okay, so I have here, I'm sharing my image. I don't have it in my hand now. Can you see this?
Yes, we can. Animation
okay,
in Africa.
So, yeah, so this is the second edition of my book. We published it firstly in 2013 with Luxor African Film Festival in Egypt. And this was a result of my research for 10 years between 2005 or to 2003 until 2013. Collecting my previous researches and paper articles about animation in every or almost every African country where there was animation history or production, interviewing a lot of animators from Africa and outside Africa, like African who are in diaspora. So we try to cover everywhere to the time, and I think it was limited by my capacity as Anglophone, Arabophone. I think more information about the Francophone side of Africa need to be researched by another colleague. So this was my first initiative, or try to cover something about our history and what our practice in Africa. So I think hopefully, inshallah, next year we'll have the French version of this book, as we published it earlier in Arabic and English, and now in English, the third, actually, we are planning to have a French part of it. So hopefully we will succeed to find the right support and partners to help me to collect the right information and accurate ones about African animators. So hopefully I have enough copies for the colleagues in the panel. But actually, the festival is planning to publish it and to be sold online Right now, they have it only on the office of the festival, but soon they are planning to make it as online in Amazon and other platforms. Yeah, so that's it.
Thank you so much. So important and something that we really, really need to celebrate. So unfortunately, we've come to the end. Can you stop sharing your screen, Prof? There we are. So Thomas, you've sat amongst us, all of us Africans, and you came to help us, showing us the work that you are doing from Germany. But you have been part of our partnership with the Nelson Mandela Children's Film Festival. I just want a last thought from you in terms of what you've seen and what you think about animation gaming from the Pan-African point of view.
I found it very interesting because you don't, as Professor Mohamed Ghazala said, you don't get so much here from Africa animations if you are not connected to CIFI or the Nelson Mandela Film Festival. So that is a great opportunity to see input. And also I've found very interesting projects. For example, I like the game a lot from Bele with the car race. And I also wanted to ask him, but maybe I will email the one or the other and ask my question because it's not the right topic. We don't have the time here, but very, very interesting. Also the collaboration and the educational stuff I found very interesting, and I really would also like to participate there in some kind from Moina Aram. I think I pronounced it rather bad. Sorry for that. Yeah, looking forward to have some stuff going on there with you.
Thank you, Thomas. So I think for the panelists, probably as we go forward, we should probably try to look at either, I don't know, bi-monthly or I don't know, sometime we should have maybe quarterly, just a get together where we find out where people are at, what can we do, how can we support each other? Because this is really a growing and grown up sector. And I think the support is what we want to from each other. We want to know what's out there. So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the Durban International Film Festival. We had hoped to have a longer session. Unfortunately, time was not on our side, but I think we really got a sense of what is happening. I want to thank you, Lynette. It's always good for the FPB to give us the context. We work in the sector, we work for children, and we need to know what the guidelines are. We need to know the classification. And I was happy that people like Foster, Sitembisto, and Tabo are looking at, are we within the guidelines when it comes to children? We don't mind what you're doing in the adult space, and it needs to happen. But we really need to consider our age group. And I keep saying to people, children are under the age of 18. It's 18 and below. When you're doing any work, the UN Charter tells us the definition of a child. A child is anybody under the age of 18. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for your time. As I said, this whole conversation is on the Durban International Film Festival website, Facebook page, and on the Nelson Mandela Children's Festival Facebook page. You can share it, you can pass it on, you can relook at it, and you can continue learning. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye.